Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1, or should I say Stop and Go F2. I know it's a bit late, but we're finally getting around to talking about the Formula 2 from this weekend in Jeddah. And if you think this one's late, just wait until Australia when the races are taking place at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I probably won't watch any of them till Monday apart from the F1. But let's start with the F2 and the F2 Sprint. Now, I might have to refresh my memory a little bit here as we go to the grid. And it was Jack Crawford who was on pole for the sprint, with Ralph Boschung in second place, Kushmaini in third, Iwasa fourth, Deruvala fifth, Doohan sixth, Pourchaire in seventh, Behrman eighth, Vesti ninth, and Victor Martins in 10th. But it was Iwasa who got up to second place off the start, and on lap 2 took the lead. This is when Zane Maloney had a spin which brought out the safety car, which is a bit upsetting for him as he did so great in Bahrain. Off the restart, Ralph Boschung was able to get up into P2. This is when the big story of the sprint race happened, when Theo Pourchaire crashed into Ollie Behrman, taking them both out. Now, this for me, 100% Pourchaire's fault here. We saw him for a couple laps doing these big dive bombs into turn 1, overtaking multiple cars. This time he just went too far and crashed into the side of Ollie Behrman. He would get a penalty for this. We'll talk about that later on. Of course, this did bring out the safety car. Off the back of the safety car, we had a fantastic battle between Boschung and Deruvala. But that is when we had a starting procedure infringement for Deruvala, which I thought would be a dead penalty, 5-second penalty, because that's what we've seen across all the formulas. If it pops up, starting infringement procedure failure or whatever, that's just straight away a penalty. But somehow he got away with it. Somehow it was okay. He was fine. And Deruvala was able to get up to P2 on lap 13. This is when Victor Martins woke up a little bit and was able to get up to P3 by lap 13. And we had a three-way battle for the lead. Iwasa, Martins, Deruvala. Absolutely incredible. Fantastic sprint race where Victor Martins was able to take P2 from Deruvala on lap 17, and this was the way the order would finish, with Iwasa taking the win, Victor Martins in second place, and Djihan Deruvala in third. A fantastic race. For me, the race of the weekend, including the feature race and the F1 as well. This one for me was fantastic. Great to see Iwasa in there. I love Iwasa. I remember watching F2 for one of the first times ever last year and turning it on, and Iwasa was just the guy I was drawn to straight away. The moves he makes are fantastic. He coped with the pressure really well here of Martins gaining on him towards the end. He coped with it really well, drove a great race and took the win. Great. Very happy for him. We now go to the feature race. I have to skip through all my different notes. So Victor Martins on pole here. Pourchaire would get a penalty for the crash he had with Oliver Behrman, which would put him from 3rd to 8th. It was a 5-place grid penalty. Personally, I think that was incredibly lenient. From the move he did and the crash he caused, I think it should have been a 10-place, personally, but they went for a 5-place penalty for him. Ollie Behrman was on the front row alongside Victor Martins, very good qualifying for him, and he was able to take the lead off the start of the race, straight into the lead. Fantastic move for Behrman. We then had a DNF for Brad Benavides as Cordial hit him, and Cordial would eventually get a 10-second penalty for this. At one point, we had 7 cars battling into turn 1 for, I think it was like P14. It was incredible to see. Fantastic stuff. Kushmaini got a 5-second penalty for pushing another driver off the track. And then Hager had a fantastic battle with Theo Pourchaire. Although Theo Pourchaire really did just go backwards throughout this entire race. Of course, he did qualify 3rd, got the penalty, went down to 8th, but then he was just stuck at the back for the majority of the race, battling it out. When you see the pace he had in Bahrain compared to where he is in this race, it was two sides of a different coin here, if that is the correct saying. I don't think it is. Anyway, Victor Martins is able to get past Ollie Bearman, but he did it off the track and had to give the position back. At one point I thought he wasn't going to, but he did give the position back. Then on lap 11, he took the lead legitimately there. This is when Bearman just seemed to let Vesti through. He was too busy fighting with Martins, and Vesti was right behind him, and he just got through. I don't think Bearman even knew he was there, which was a shame. Bearman down to third place. This is when Stanek, is it Roman Stanek? Is that his name? Yes, Roman Stanek. He overtook Zane Maloney off the track, and it was clear he overtook him off the track into turn 1, very similar to how Victor Martins had done on Bearman a few laps earlier. Victor Martins gave the place back immediately because it was obvious he overtook him off the track. Roman Stanek did not give the position back. If anything, he defended his position into turn 3 incredibly aggressively. And I was shocked, because even the commentators weren't saying... I thought I'd seen things at one point, because it was very obvious it was off the track. The commentators didn't say anything. There was no radio message to tell him to give the place back, and he just drove off into the distance. It wasn't till 5 or 10 laps later, he got a penalty for overtaking off the track. And they were like, oh, yeah, of course, yeah, that. Why didn't his engineers just say give the place back? I don't understand what was going on here with Stanek, but there you go. Then things got very bad because Oliver Bearman spun out. He was able to keep the car moving and he continued on through the race, but from what had been a great weekend for him, really went downhill from here. He spun out, lit the tyres up, they were just dead from that point onward. Going from Bahrain, see the thing is with Ollie Bearman, I like him a lot because obviously he's a British driver in the Ferrari Academy, which I think is incredible. Secondly, his surname is Bearman. I mean, how can you not like that? So I was behind him here, and I was very happy that when he was leading the race. In Bahrain, we saw him make some good moves at the start, but his tyres just died throughout the race, and I thought, here's the one. He's going to prove to everyone that he's got it here, but it didn't work out for him here. But at least he wasn't Victor Martins, because he spun out and could not get the car restarted again. Now that is a proper rollercoaster of a weekend for him. He had pole position by quite some margin. He drove this race really well until this point where he DNFs out. So yeah, Bearman's tyres were dead. I think at this point, you see the two different pit strategies that are going on, where you had a lot of guys who were going long. So you had the likes of Arthur Leclerc, Isaac Hadjar, and Roman Stanek. They all stayed out quite late, and this is when they start pitting. We have kind of two races going on at once. One which was Vesti and Doohan and Daruvala, who were battling about P6, which would actually be P1, and the guys who were battling in P1 had those late pit stops. It was a very slow pit stop for Leclerc as well, but he eventually was able to get back ahead of all those guys there. This, just before the race ends, Stanek finally gets his penalty, and then, of course, we have the checkered flag. Frederick Vesti taking the win with Doohan in second and Daruvala in third. Iwasa in fourth, and it was Dennis Hauger filling out the top 5. Richard Verschoor in 6th, Enzo Fittipaldi 7th, Arthur Leclerc in 8th, Isaac Hadjar in 9th, and Oliver Bearman completes the top 10, getting 1 point from this weekend, so at least he got something. So yeah, it was a great weekend of Formula 2. I really, really enjoyed it. My F2 hero of the week is going to go to Iwasa. I thought he was fantastic in both races, doing really well. And the most interesting thing for me this weekend, in terms of the championship battle, is we might actually have a championship battle. A lot of people going into Bahrain and coming out of Bahrain were like, Theo Pourchaire has got this all wrapped up. Maybe not this weekend. Theo Pourchaire walks away from the feature race and the sprint race with 0 points. Boschong also got 0 points from the feature race, but I think he did score points in the sprint race. And if we take a look at the standings, it is a very interesting sight. So Ralph Boschong is currently leading the Formula 2 World Championship. He came away with 5 points. That's it. 5 points from Saudi Arabia. So he has 33 points overall. In second place is Theo Pourchaire with 32 points. And then in third is Ayumi Iwasa with 31 points. So 2 points separate first and third place in the Formula 2 Championship. We've had 4 races, 4 different winners. It's all very exciting. It will continue into Australia. Now, as I said at the start of the video, the Formula 3 and Formula 2 races are on very, very, very early in the morning for us people in the UK. So it probably will not be an immediate reaction to the F2 and F3. But the good thing is, that weekend is also WrestleMania weekend, and I booked Monday off work to recoup from the lack of sleep. So hopefully I'll be able to watch all of F2 and F3 on the Monday, and there'll be videos up either on the Monday or the Tuesday of that race weekend. So if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, because this is the first F2 season and F3 season that I'm following properly, and I'm loving it so far. It's absolutely fantastic racing. It's great to watch. And I hope the championship continues to be this close. And you know what? Maybe Iwasa can do it. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? We'd all like that. I think everyone loves Iwasa. He's just a good guy. Right, that's all we got time for today. I will see you next time. Make sure you subscribe. Goodbye.